Hello and welcome to this edition of City Council Comments. I'm Steve Erickson along with Mayor Jerry Cook. Today we're talking about both the Wednesday, November 8th and the Tuesday, November 21st City Council meetings. Thanks for being here today, Jerry.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
We had our first meeting of the month one day later than usual because we had the school board election.
School board election November 7th, so the meeting was on Wednesday, November 8th, and good news for the schools. We have $249 million school bond referendum passed, and we should be getting some updates.
Yeah, both the bond and levy questions passed.
Yep.
So that means some updates for the schools here. 2 new elementary schools, one in Blaine and one in Ramsey. So good news for the school district there. And then there was also 3 school board seats that were on the ballot as well.
Right. Yeah. 2 that were that had incumbents running that are both going to be staying, and then one that was an open seat because William Fields did not run again, and I don't recall the name of the woman that won from Andover.
I'm drawing a blank as well, but the other 2 incumbents represent the city of Coon Rapids. Correct. On the board. Quiet here on the city front. No elections here. We have those next year.
Right.
A couple of the city council seats are on the ballot.
Yep. And at this point, all we're doing is with the school bond referendum, we're just hoping that the Coon Rapids High School stays a priority.
Yeah.
Because that's a major safety upgrade. That's why I think what brought people to the polls. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a tremendous upgrade to get all of that common area connected. And the article that came out in the paper, it wasn't the priority. It was a second tier priority. Okay. So we're trying to get the needle moved back to make sure they consider it a priority, because it is a priority. Definitely. You know, when you have events after school and the whole building is open, this will allow you to actually have secure places, and it'll lock off those hundreds of thousands of square feet of school area.
Yeah, the renderings they had for that, it looks amazing though.
It really does. Yeah, a local architect came up with the concept, and it looks great.
All right. Well, we'll jump into our first meeting. I want to talk about here the November 21st meeting. One of the first items there was a presentation by Chris Geisler from the Citizen. He's a citizen alternate on the Transportation Advisory Board, and he gave us a presentation on what they do.
Yeah. So it was interesting. It was talking about how they allocate funds for various projects, regional tasks. And one of the interesting things was we have to get the applications in for next year's allocations by December 8th. And that was really what this was. This was a reminder that, pay attention if there's something we need for that have a regional benefit with trails or roads, to get them in now, get the applications in, get the grant requests before December 8th.
All right, it showed us sort of some of the projects we've gotten funding for, including the Hanson and then also the tracks on Foley.
Yep, yeah, for doing an overpass over the tracks on Foley right by the park and ride.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah, so that'll be nice. It was interesting that Anoka County had applied for 3 different trail grants that weren't accepted. So apparently there's not enough a regional component or something. They didn't really say why they weren't accepted.
Okay. So is this the consortium of the counties that were together on the transportation funding, or is that something different?
So it's under the Metropolitan Council. So this is TAB.
I'm thinking there was a group that some cities got out of, or some counties got out of, but that is something different, correct?
Oh, that was CTIB.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, that was something different. Yeah, that was county transportation. Yeah, that was something different.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, moving along to the consent agenda, we had a couple items there. First, wanted to talk about a resolution establishing polling locations for 2018. I saw this and I thought maybe I was looking at the wrong agenda, but we're already preparing for next year.
Right. Well, and particularly, when you have a school board election or an odd year election, sometimes they'll consolidate some of the polling areas. But we've got 2 precincts, 4-1 and 4-2, that are kind of western Coon Rapids, that have been bounced around quite a bit. They used to consistently vote at the Legion Club. Then when the Legion Club went for sale, there became some concerns. Well, how long will they be able to be there? So they moved them out of there, and then they've bounced around. Well, now that there has been a sale, a local church has bought it, and the church has said, no, absolutely, let's have the polling here. So 4-1 and 4-2 are both going back to the old Legion Club building. It's still currently the Legion Club. It will be the North Star Alliance Church, I think it is. And so then hopefully they'll be stable again, and that's where they'll go to vote.
All right. I remember that as a church that smells like popcorn. That's kind of, I think it is North Star, but that was how they originally came out. They started in the movie theater here in Coon Rapids, and they kind of bounced around to different places, and now they've found their permanent home in the Legion.
Oh.
Of course, as the Legion searches for a new home, a new smaller location here in the city.
Yeah.
And I know that is still ongoing right now.
Yeah, every time I drive by there, I wonder what's going on with that, because I think they have to purchase a building. I don't think they can lease.
Yeah, so they're still looking at that. I know they're closing up, or they'll move out of there sometime in December. So, all right. Council adopted 2 other resolutions related to the fire department budget. One for a new washing machine and a replacement of a furnace. 2 broken items here.
Two broken items just wore out, and the washing machine was a bit of a surprise because. By the time they get it installed and everything else, it's a $9,000 acquisition.
Right.
But the turnout uniforms or the turnout suits that they wear, like the fire chief said, it used to be a badge of honor when they'd let them get dirty, and they'd look like they were sooty or they would be sooty. Well, what they found out though was there's so many carcinogens that come out of those fires, methyl, ethyl, all the other junk, that when they get back from a fire, they need to have those suits washed to get all that stuff off those suits so they're clean so they can go out in the next time. The suits are a very special material that they're not impacted by the wash. They don't lose any of their flammability, whatever that word would be that says you don't start on fire.
Yes. Not flammable.
Not flammable, whatever. At any rate, so it's a big expense, but it's really important for the safety of our firefighters that they're able to wash those.
Right.
And it takes a very special machine. Yep. So that's what that was. And the other one was we had a furnace go out of station number 2. And surprisingly, it was only $3,000 because that would be kind of what you would expect to pay to replace a furnace.
Yeah.
And but of course, then the fire chief also reminded us that it's the same age as the second furnace in the building. So we'll probably be seeing that. Well, then when you ask further, you find out that the other turnout washing machines in stations 1 and 3 are also about the same age. So it just never quits.
Yeah, I was kind of ironic when I read this because, like you said, yes, $3,000 for a furnace. That sounds really reasonable.
Yeah.
Then you're looking at a $9,000 washing machine. So
Yeah.
it's almost like you think it's backwards. But
Yeah.
of course, they need that. Like you said, the turnout gear, big. I imagine you need some sort of industrial strength washing machine. So
Yep.
they got both of those replaced. So that is good, and we'll hope for good things for the other ones for a bit longer, anyways. All right.
Yep.
Council adopted a resolution. This authorized the sale of tax forfeited properties.
Yeah, so there's several properties that have gone into tax forfeiture with the county. So the county gives us a list to consider whether we want to whether we would like to be considered in acquiring those properties. And for the most part, they're all like slivers of land. They're all just straightening out property lines. There's one home down in Woodcrest that's always been a real bother to the neighbors down there. It's been a real eyesore. 9920 Olive Street. It's been vacant for a long time. Mm-hmm. So that's the one that we pulled off that we've said, you know what, we would like to consider acquiring that. So now we've got 6 months to come to terms with the county on that. And if we do, then we would likely consider it under a scattered site acquisition where we would buy it, have the home raised, either torn down, or if the fire crew will do training, and then we'll sell it and have a new home built there. So that'll be a win-win for the neighborhood.
All right. Council authorized a resolution approving the final plat for the Riverdale Station apartments. This is something we've talked about before, the TOD area up there by the North Star Station.
We've talked about this once or twice.
Yeah, maybe 3 times.
So we approved the preliminary plat earlier this year, and now this is actually approving the final plat, dividing it into, I think it was 3 lots, or no, it was 4 lots. So it's going to be 251 units built preliminarily, and then there's going to be a little retail corner, and then the 4th lot will be the one, I believe, one of them will be the next phase. Mm-hmm. But hopefully this will be the last step so they can start building.
Yeah, so there's an outlot apparently for 2 future apartment buildings, because there was basically a phase 2 of this project.
Yes.
Phase 1, we believe, I imagine they want to get going in the ground sometime next year. We're not exactly sure on that, but
you would think, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, we've been talking about it for a while. So that should be coming soon here. Council adopted a resolution as well, amending the budget and proposing a proposal for sanitary sewer improvements.
Yes. So the Metropolitan Council is down doing some preliminary engineering to replace some lift stations down by the old clay hole. And so they have sent cameras down in the attached sewer lines and found out that ours are failing badly. It's a 42-inch, and it's got all the rebar is showing. They called it an exposed rib cage. And to the point where it's structurally not even strong enough for the Met Council to run their equipment over the top of to do their lift station repairs. So last night we signed an engineering agreement to have a study done to get those repaired, because those service basically all of the properties south of the tracks. They are very important. And what we're fortunate to learn on is that they can line those, just like they line the clay tile ones. They line these cement ones with an epoxy, and it actually builds back its structural integrity and should give it about an 80-year life. But it will be expensive. It's going to be probably $500,000 by the time we're through this. But this was just an allocation, $60,000, I think, for the engineering on it.
Okay. But something important needs to be done to keep the system working.
Yeah, there was nobody that wanted to stop this one. It's like, oh, no, this sounds important. Let's just move this ahead.
Move it along. All right. Moving along, Council adopted a resolution authorizing the Cottages of Coon Creek Limited Partnership Housing Revenue Note. Where is this property we're talking about?
Coon Rapids Boulevard, right by the, there's a Chet's Shoes down on Coon Rapids Boulevard. I don't remember what the number would be.
So like west of Egret?
Oh, not even close to Egret. So it's
I'm off west of Hanson.
Sorry. So it's actually in between Xavis and Crooked Lake Boulevard.
Thank you.
On the north side of Coon Rapids Boulevard.
Okay.
There's a little strip mall there where, like, so there's a Chet's Shoes and a hair salon and probably leather shoe repair or something.
Okay.
And it sits right behind. There's some townhomes right on the boulevard, and this sits right behind them. There's a road in from 112th and Yukon, 112th I think it is, 111th, and you can also come in from the boulevard. Okay. But these folks have been trying to get financing for quite a while to upgrade all these projects, and they finally are able to acquire it. So we are just we're signing for the bonding. We're not responsible for it, but it is allowing them to completely revitalize all those units in there.
Okay.
So anything that improves our housing stock, I'm always on board with.
Yeah, and we've talked about these before.
I was actually done there.
I didn't. I thought maybe there's another word or two. That's why the pause there.
Yeah.
Basically, the city's the funding mechanism, correct? But there's no responsibility or liability to the
Right.
city for
Right.
the funding.
Yeah, and I think this was like $5 million or something, wasn't it? Yeah.
Millions of dollars anyway.
Millions of dollars.
Okay. And we're going to have another one we're going to talk about coming up in our first meeting that we had in November as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's lots of words. It's sometimes hard to go back and find numbers.
$5 million and loaning the proceeds to Coon Creek Senior Community Limited Partnership. And this started 3 years ago. They've been working on this. So.
All right. Well, hopefully they can get started on those improvements.
Yeah.
All right. That's all we have to talk about on our November 21st meeting. Let's go back now to our first meeting of the month. As we mentioned, was held on a Wednesday because of the election. The first items of business there, we actually had two proclamations, one for Small Business Saturday and one for DECA Week. And of course, as Thanksgiving approaches here, it's also shopping time, Black Friday, and then Small Business Saturday.
Yeah, so that's what it is. It's a proclamation to encourage folks to discover the small businesses around town. Mm-hmm. You know, we've got lots of shopping in town. You know, you're going to have Cyber Monday next week, but if you can get your shopping done locally, you know, that's a win-win for everybody here. So declaring Small Business Saturday, and that's the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and then we did a proclamation. Recognizing DECA, which is an association of marketing students, which prepare the students to be academically prepared, community-oriented, professionally responsible, and experienced leaders, which I think are all things that are good to aspire to. So we did a proclamation for them as well.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to need a calendar pretty soon to keep track of all the days there are related to shopping and Thanksgiving and
gosh, yeah.
Black Friday. You said Cyber Monday. There's like Dark Wednesday now or something before Thanksgiving, or maybe it's Dark Thursday.
Oh, really?
It's related to drunk driving because apparently it's the highest number of drunk driving is the night before Thanksgiving. Everyone going out to drink before.
Oh, everybody comes home. That's their excuse to go out and see their old buddies.
So the Wednesday night is a big night. So they actually called it something like that. So I'm like, need a calendar to keep track of all this stuff. All right, we'll move along to the consent agenda. We had approval of an off-sale Class A liquor license. This is for Cub up in Riverdale.
Yeah, and there was some, I've heard it from a few folks in town wondering, earlier this year we passed an ordinance amending our Class B liquor license so that, like for example, grocery stores of 50,000 square feet or more could actually open a liquor store, attached to their unit. In this case, Cub could have actually taken advantage of that, but what they did instead was Riverdale Crossing Liquors up between Cub and Walmart and Riverdale Crossing Mall went out of business. Okay. So Cub opened up a new liquor store in that spot. So I think it's going to be a Cub liquor store, but they're operating it as one of the A licenses in town. They didn't take advantage of moving it up next to their store and operating it as a B license.
Okay, so it's not connected. It's not going to be connected to Cub then.
So it's not. It's not contiguous, not physically connected to Cub. Yeah, it's several stores down in the mall. Okay. But I believe when you see the ads and they say Cub Liquors, I'm sure that's what this will be. It'll be a Cub Liquors.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So,
council held a public hearing when no one wished to speak. This was rescinding a lot split approval for Parent Custom Homes.
Yeah. So earlier this year, there was a home down on the river that was on a very large lot, and Brian Parent went through all the process to survey it and have us approve a lot split so that he could build 2 new homes down there on the river. Well, before he got too far down that road or got that recorded at the county, a buyer came forward that said, I want to buy both lots and I want to build one big home in the middle of those 2 lots. So he didn't record them at the county, which meant that we had to take action to rescind the action that we had done. So basically, it's a do-over. It's back to just being one large lot again. Okay. And so that's nice. It's a beautiful spot down there.
I imagine. Moving along to new business, council approved an agreement with Conexus Energy. This is for EV fleet analysis.
Yeah. So Public Works will figure out what vehicles make sense to monitor. There's going to be a plug-in connection that will report the vehicle's usage. Where did it go? How long did it run? How long did it sit? And basically, they're going to be able to analyze all that data and tell us, does it make sense for that to be a diesel or a gas? Or would it make sense for it to be an electric vehicle? So they're going to create all the reports, and then they're going to give them back to us. The reports will be public records. The actual data, where our employee drove to and how long he sat, all of that, that's all Conexus stuff. Okay. And we'll get basically a summary of that. Okay.
And the employees that are doing this are doing it voluntary, it sounds like?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Okay.
That wasn't my call.
I think someone asked that question as far as the data, as far as monitoring and that it was people that were interested in having it in their vehicle.
I recall that it was, they will all know that they will have it. It won't be a surprise, but I didn't remember if they volunteered for it. I thought it was going to be Public Works figuring out which vehicles really made the most sense, that maybe these are the best candidates. Yeah. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the results of that turn out to be. Yeah.
We assume it won't be like our dump trucks and our police squads, but
yeah. You don't want to chase down the bad guy with a electric vehicle?
Well, I don't know. Some of those Teslas I think go pretty well.
I mean, you never know now. Like maybe in the next couple of years they'll even increase the speed.
Sure.
We'll find out. Council considered a resolution, actually adopted a resolution establishing 2018 fees and charges. This is for the use of city park facilities, and there's a bit of good news here.
Yeah, so none of the fees actually changed, the user fees for renting shelters and things, but we had to do an ordinance to change it because of all the park because of the park bond referendum and all of the investments, we actually were able to add shelters that can be marketed now for Woodview Park, Riverview Park, and Moore Park. They all have shelters now that can be added to the list. Here, rent these for your family.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, that's good news.
All right. Council adopted a resolution. This approves the preliminary and final plat for the Steindale Second Edition. And whereabouts is this project?
So this is it's on the north side of Main Street and west side of Shenandoah Boulevard.
Okay.
So right at the entrance of the Oaks of Shenandoah on the west side, in about, in 500 feet or something, is this big townhome development.
Right.
And this road that goes into that townhome development literally cut this lot in half. And I know a real estate agent very well that's worked for close to 20 years trying to find a use for this lot, trying to find a way to develop it, and I think they just gave up. So, so now the road side, of the side between the street and Main Street, will be medium density or moderate density, and then the north side will be low density residential. So it'll be very limited. It's not going to be a big project. It's just a way to get something on the property.
All right.
It'll be a nice little development.
Yeah. Council adopted a resolution. This authorizes Drake MDG Limited Partnership housing revenue note. We talked about one of these on the other meeting, and we have another one here.
Yeah, so these are the Drake apartments down off of Egret Boulevard. And basically this is another housing improvement, fund. And in this case, they're going to be looking at investing about $25,000 per unit into, just getting everything freshened up. So that'll be nice for those tenants, and it'll be nice for Coon Rapids. Again, anything we can do to improve housing stock, it's good.
Yeah, it's great to see the apartment units, other associations utilizing this avenue to be able to do that work.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. One other item here to talk about was Council approving an amendment number 2 to the Memorandum of Understanding for the Community Development Block Grant Program.
Yeah, so these are housing improvement funds, and we did not get them spent this year. And the problem with not getting them spent is not only would we lose those funds, we would lose the allocation for next year. Okay. So this allowed us to turn these back to the county, and the county found a project within Coon Rapids where it will get spent. It is a need, and there's the Pine Point Apartments on Hanson and right basically at the railroad tracks. And they had been trying to get funds to fix up those units. Mm-hmm. And so this was perfect. This will allow them, in fact, I've seen the construction trucks over there because that was the rest of it. They had to have the work done by January in order to be eligible for the funds and still spend them within their allocation time. So this was a win-win. Anoka County really worked with us, helped us out here. And again, more housing stock being improved.
All right. Definitely don't want to lose those funds.
No.
All right. That brings us to the end of that meeting as well, and both our meetings for November. I want to talk about, under other business at that meeting, actually, the city manager brought up an honor that Chief Piper recently received.
Yeah, so Chief Piper, the fire chief, has really been the driving force behind getting that Hanson Bridge, the overpass over the railroad tracks on Hanson Boulevard. And and every time he talks about it, he says, "Well, it was a team effort. It was all these people. There's always and we were at the legislature, which with him, but you've got to have that guy that's always keeping everybody on task, and that was John Piper. John was always, how are we doing to this? And he had liaisons with the governor, and he was always in touch with the legislators, and he would let us know. He would say, "Okay, we have an opportunity to testify at the legislature Wednesday." So at any rate. The transportation, where is it?
He received an advocacy award from the State Transportation Group, I believe.
Yeah, and so we went up to St. Cloud, and he received the award, and it was very nice. It was a nice honor for him, and it was well deserved.
Yeah, very well deserved, and again, that project will start next year and go into the following year, 2019, before it's complete.
Yeah, so that'll be quite a change for Coon Rapids after all these years of crossing those tracks, and all those years of waiting for trains at that crossing.
Yes.
So it'll be nice.
All right. Also, you talked about the streetlight project. There's one on Main Street as well as Coon Rapids Boulevard, and that work has begun and is almost done up in the Main Street area.
Yes, it is very close. So last Friday night, just a week ago, you were able to drive down Main Street and see all the old streetlights on the one side and all the new streetlights on the north side of the road, and just see the difference between the two. And it's stark. The old ones were like these China hat things, where they would just put this little piece of light out on the street below them and nothing around, and they were real dark. And the new ones now, it's lots of bright white LED light, and it's a real nice improvement. So like you said, there was only one little section to be finished, and that was like from the Northdale to Highway 10. Later they'll go back and do the ones on the actual Main Street Bridge over Highway 10. And the other part of this project is Coon Rapids Boulevard, down from 47 down past Springbrook, that area that used to have those little white globe lights down there. That one required all new wiring to be put underground. The wiring is in, and they're going to start on those. And I thought they were going to be done by December 9th. Or they're going to do them December 9th. I don't remember.
But sometime in December, it sounds like by the end of the year that both projects will be complete.
Both projects will be complete.
And this is LED lighting that's going in.
Yeah, so. All LED, and it's just, when you have nice street lights, it's welcoming, it's warm, and and it's one of the biggest deterrents of crime is street lights. So it's a win-win. It's all good.
All right. One quick thing before we go, just a couple minutes left here. You guys had a discussion recently at a work session the City Council did regarding the naming of what we've called for Boulevard Park now, because it didn't have a name. It sounds like there's been sort of a consensus on what that should be called.
Yeah, so we actually had a naming contest, and the City Council went through the recommendations from the Parks Commission and said, you know what, this is good and that's good, and let's see what actually, we've got people that do marketing. Let's find out from them what they think is the best name to market. And it came back to council with some pretty compelling reasons that we should consider naming it Boulevard Plaza, because it's bigger. It's hard to get away from, it's been Boulevard Park now.
Right.
And it's on Coon Rapids Boulevard. But park sounds limiting, whereas if it's plaza, it's a broader descriptor.
Yeah.
Because this is made up of, you've got the ice center, you've got the new splash pad, you've got the playground areas, you've got the 4th of July celebration that goes on there, and whatever, eventually there's going to be hopefully a little a stage there. So.
And the farmers market and
yeah, exactly, the farmers market. So. It was the consensus from the workshop. No official action has been taken on it. That'll come back to council at some point in the future. It will.
All right. Well, it'll come back, like you said, so we shouldn't talk about it too much because we'll have to talk about it again.
Oh, I just talked about it way too much then.
But, I figured as long as you guys had a work session on it, we might as well put it out there and let folks know what the thinking is there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all I have, unless you have anything else you want to add today.
I don't think so. By the time this runs, Happy Thanksgiving will be probably too late.
Yeah. Yes.
But Happy Thanksgiving anyway.
Anyways.
To you.
Or to the following year or whatever. All right. We really appreciate you being here today, Jerry, and talking to us about the meetings. Thank you at home for watching, and we'll see you back here again after our 2 meetings in December for our final show of 2017.